At the foot of Africa's highest mountain lies a land shaped by dust, water, and survival. Here, Giant walks ancient paths across the open plains. Predator waits patiently for opportunity. In the wetland, elegance and power exist side by side. This is Amboseli, a world beyond noise. At the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro lies a land of exposure, Amboseli, a basin of dust and light where sky outweighs earth. For much of the year, it appears empty. Heat trembles above cracked ground. Acacias stand against the wind. Silence carries across open plains. But this is not a lifeless place. Water travels here from distant ice, moving unseen beneath volcanic rock, rising again in scattered swamps. And where water surfaces, life follows. Tracks score the drying mud. Shadows stretch long in the evening light. The ground itself remembers every passing season. In a landscape ruled by drought and distance, there are lives that shape the land as much as they depend on it. Lives measured not in days, but in generations. Out here, survival often begins alone. A lone elephant moves across the open plains. Each step deliberate, each movement measured against heat, distance, and memory. In Amboseli National Park, these giants are shaped by a landscape that offers little and demands everything. Water lies far apart, shade is never guaranteed, and the ground carries the weight of every journey. This elephant follows paths worn over generations, routes that lead to hidden swamps, and back again to dust. Nothing is wasted. The trunk tests the air. Feet read the texture of the earth. Even silence carries information. But size offers no protection from the land itself. The sun rises quickly. The plains give no cover. And distance is always an adversary. Still, it moves forward, unhurried, certain. Because in a place where survival depends on memory, this is a life built to remember. And on these same open plains where footsteps press into dust, other lives move closer to the ground, watching, waiting, unseen. At first glance, the plains seem empty, but look closer. Among the dry grasses, something moves. Slow, deliberate, almost invisible. The Kori Bustard. One of the heaviest birds capable of flight, yet it spends most of its life on the ground. In the open landscapes of Amboseli National Park, flight is costly, so the bustard walks. Each step careful, each pause intentional. Its plumage mirrors the earth, browns, greys, and fine patterns that dissolve into the background. Here, visibility can mean vulnerability, so it relies on stillness more than speed. The bustard is an opportunist. It feeds on insects, small reptiles, seeds, even other birds when the chance arises. Nothing in this landscape is taken for granted. But despite its size, taking to the air is a last resort. Flight demands energy. And in Amboseli, energy must be conserved. Instead, it trusts the ground, trusts its camouflage, its patience, and its ability to remain unnoticed, in a place where being seen can mean everything. In a land where being seen can mean danger, there are those that have evolved to outrun it. On these same open plains, not all who remain grounded choose stillness. The Masai Ostrich. The largest living bird on Earth, yet completely flightless. In the vast openness of Amboseli National Park, survival depends on being seen, and seeing first. With height comes advantage. From above the grassline, the ostrich scans the horizon, detecting movement long before danger arrives. But when threats close in, it does not hide. It runs. Powerful legs drive it forward at remarkable speed, covering ground in long, efficient strides. Each step can span several meters, built not for maneuver, but for endurance across open land. Flight has been traded for efficiency. Reduced wings aid balance. Strong limbs deliver acceleration, and energy is spent only when necessary. Even its eyes, among the largest of any land animal, are adapted for distance, not detail. In a place with nowhere to disappear, escape is everything. And here, survival belongs to those who can cross the horizon, faster than it can catch them. As the plains give way to wetland, movement slows, and something far heavier begins to emerge. Beyond the dust where water holds its ground, a different giant remains, the hippopotamus. Spending most of its life submerged, it relies on water to regulate heat and protect its skin from the relentless sun of Amboseli National Park. By day, it rests almost motionless. Eyes, ears, and nostrils aligned just above the surface, breathing without waking. But beneath this stillness lies immense power. And along these same waters where movement is subtle and timing is everything, another hunter waits, watching far more closely. Along the water's edge, stillness takes a different form. The Goliath Heron, the largest of all herons. Towering above the shallows of Amboseli National Park, it hunts with patience rather than speed. Each step is deliberate, each pause calculated. Its long bill is built for power, capable of striking with enough force to seize large, struggling prey. But success depends on timing. A single misjudgment, and the water returns to silence. And nearby, in the same shifting wetlands, another hunter takes a very different approach. Not all herons are bound to water, the black-headed heron. Far more adaptable, it moves easily between wetlands and open grasslands of Amboseli National Park. Here, it hunts differently. Insects, small mammals, even reptiles, taken on foot with quick, opportunistic strikes. It follows movement, disturbs prey, and reacts in an instant. In a landscape where stillness and speed both define survival, tension is never far away. And across these same plains, eyes lock as hunter and prey begin to read each other. Across the open plains of Amboseli National Park, speed alone is not enough. It begins with sight, the cheetah. Built for acceleration, not endurance, every part of its body designed to close distance in seconds. Lightweight frame, long limbs, a spine that flexes like a spring. But before the sprint comes the weight. From a distance, it studies the plains. Movement, spacing, weakness. Every detail matters. Because a chase once started cannot last long, and failure carries a cost. Out there, unaware or perhaps already alert, stands another life shaped by the same land. Thomson's gazelles, among the most watchful animals of the savannah. Their survival depends on anticipation. Ears turn constantly, eyes scan without rest. Muscles remain half prepared for flight. They do not need to outrun the fastest predator, only outlast its burst. And so, across the distance, the balance holds. Predator and prey locked in silent calculation. Every step measured, every movement observed. In Amboseli, survival is not decided in the moment of the chase, but in the moments before it begins. And when neither side commits, the plains return to stillness. Where water gathers once more, and smaller lives continue, untouched by the tension of speed and survival. Back at the water's edge, the mood softens. The black-winged stilt. Light, long-legged, it moves through the shallows of Amboseli National Park. Its fine bill picks tiny prey from the surface, precise, effortless, built for balance in still water, not speed. And across these same wetlands, the numbers begin to rise. Across the shallow waters of Amboseli National Park, the shoreline begins to transform. Flamingos. Drawn to the alkaline lakes, they gather in vast numbers, turning water into motion and motion into color. From a distance, it appears like a single, shifting body. But each bird moves with purpose. Their curved bills are uniquely adapted, filtering microscopic algae and tiny organisms from the water. Feeding upside down, they sweep side to side, sifting life from the shallows. What seems abundant is, in reality, delicate. Their survival depends on precise conditions, the right water levels, the right chemistry, the right balance of nutrients. Too much change, and the flocks move on. Yet when conditions align, Amboseli becomes a temporary refuge, a place of gathering, of rhythm, of constant movement. And above this chorus of wings and water, a different presence begins to rise. One that does not feed in numbers, but alone, with purpose. Even away from the water, the hunter remains, the African fish eagle. A successful strike ends quickly, powerful talons lock onto the prey, and in a single motion, it lifts. Wings drive hard against the air, carrying the catch away from the open ground, secure, decisive. In a landscape where nothing can be left unguarded, a kill must be claimed and removed. And nearby, where feeding draws numbers instead of solitude, others begin to gather. Not all feeding is solitary. The sacred Ibis. Across the wetlands of Amboseli National Park, competition is constant. A quick catch, and just as quickly, it draws attention. Chased, contested, rarely uncontested. And beyond the water's edge, another watcher waits, far more still. At the edge of land and water, stillness returns, the thick knee. In Amboseli National Park, it relies on camouflage and vigilance, standing motionless, even when watched, perfectly still, until it must move. And across these plains, stillness begins to give way to something far larger. Across the plains, the giants return, an African elephant family. In Amboseli National Park, strength is shared, guided by memory and held together by bonds that shape every movement. And here, no one walks alone. Up close, every movement matters. The trunk, precise, powerful, and essential to survival. Within the safety of the herd, a different story unfolds. Young elephants test their strength. Pushing, shoving, learning through play. What appears playful is practice. These early sparring bouts help develop coordination, balance, and social awareness. Skills that will shape their survival in the years ahead. Every movement is watched. Older members remain close, guiding without omniscience, allowing space, but never distance. Here, bonds are built early, through touch, through play, through constant presence. Because in a landscape as demanding as Amboseli National Park, survival is not learned alone. It is taught. Within the herd, every individual has a place. African elephants live in matriarchal societies, led by the oldest and most experienced female. She carries the memory of the land. Routes to water, seasonal changes, safe passages across vast distances. In a landscape like Amboseli National Park, memory is survival. The herd moves as one, coordinated through low-frequency rumbles, many beyond human hearing. These calls travel across kilometers, keeping families connected even when they are out of sight. Calves remain at the center, protected at all times. Adults form a moving shield, adjusting constantly to threats, terrain, and opportunity. Nothing is random. Every step, every pause, every direction, guided by experience. Because here, survival is not just strength. It is knowledge, passed down generation after generation. As the herd moves, the landscape responds. African elephants are more than inhabitants of Amboseli National Park. They are engineers of it. Their paths open routes through dense vegetation. Their feeding shapes the structure of trees and grasslands, and their search for water can transform the ground itself. With each step, they carry influence. Seeds pass through their digestive system, dispersed across vast distances, allowing plant life to regenerate far from its origin. In this way, movement becomes renewal. But travel is never without purpose. These journeys connect feeding grounds, water sources and resting areas, often separated by many kilometers. The matriarch decides the pace. Too fast and calves fall behind. Too slow and resources may be missed. Balance is constant. Even communication continues on the move. Low rumbles pass through the group, vibrations felt as much as heard, a language shaped for distance. Because in a land where conditions can change without warning, coordination is everything. The herd does not simply walk through Amboseli, it reads it, remembers it, and, in many ways, reshapes it. Bound to the earth below and carried by the air above, Amboseli moves on many levels. Above the plains of Amboseli National Park, another giant takes to the air, the great white pelican. With broad wings and minimal effort, it glides on rising thermals, conserving energy over long distances. Flight here is not about speed, but efficiency. Each movement calculated, each glide extended. Built to travel between distant water bodies, it crosses vast landscapes with ease. And as it descends once more toward the wetlands, other residents hold their ground below. Back on the ground, life gathers closer. The Egyptian goose. Often seen near water across Amboseli National Park, it raises its young in open, exposed spaces. The chicks are mobile within hours of hatching, able to walk, swim, and feed almost immediately. But independence comes early, not safety. Both parents remain alert, guarding constantly. A sudden movement, a distant threat, and the response is immediate, vocal, defensive, unwavering. Because here, survival depends on vigilance from the very beginning. And along these same waters, where patience replaces protection, another hunter waits in silence. Perched above the ground, another hunter watches, the grey-headed kingfisher. Across Amboseli National Park, it is not bound to water alone. From a fixed perch, it scans for movement, insects, small reptiles, anything within reach. Then a sudden dive, quick, accurate, efficient. It returns to its perch to finish the catch. Conserving energy, minimizing risk. In a land where every strike must count, precision replaces power. And beyond these scattered perches, the plains begin to open to movement on a far larger scale. Out on the open plains, patterns begin to move. The plains zebra. Across Amboseli National Park, their striped coats create confusion in numbers, breaking outlines, blending motion into motion. No two patterns are the same. But together, they form a shifting barrier against predators. Constantly grazing, they move in loose groups, always alert, always ready to react. Safety lies not in strength, but in awareness and in numbers. And among these same scattered trees where the landscape begins to rise slightly, a smaller voice begins to call. From the scattered trees, a persistent call breaks the stillness, denotes Barbet. Across Amboseli National Park, it spends much of its time on branches and trunks, rarely venturing far. Its strong bill is built for more than feeding. It chisels into wood, carving out nesting cavities where pairs raise their young. Repetitive, vocal, and highly territorial. And nearby, where branches gather in clusters, others move together in close company. Among the branches, movement becomes collective. The speckled mousebird. In Amboseli National Park, it rarely moves alone, small groups clinging close as they forage. Soft-bodied and agile, it feeds mainly on fruits and leaves, navigating dense foliage with ease. Even at rest, they gather tightly, conserving warmth, staying connected. In a landscape of constant exposure, closeness becomes its own form of protection. And on the ground below, a more complex society begins to unfold. On the ground, complexity takes shape. Yellow baboons. Across Amboseli National Park, they live in structured societies, groups defined by hierarchy, cooperation, and constant negotiation. Every individual has a rank. Dominance determines access to food, space, and mates. But strength alone is not enough. Relationships matter. Alliances form. Grooming reinforces bonds. Conflicts are managed as often as they are fought. Communication is constant through calls, gestures, and expression. Nothing goes unnoticed. As they move, the group spreads out, some feeding, others watching. Sentinels pause on higher ground, scanning for danger, because despite their numbers, vulnerability remains. Youngsters stay close, learning through observation and imitation. What to eat, where to move, who to avoid. Here, survival is shaped not just by instinct, but by experience, memory, and social understanding. In Amboseli, life is not only about enduring the land. For some, it is about navigating each other. Across the open ground, vigilance continues, the long-toed lapwing. In Amboseli National Park, it relies on sharp calls and constant alertness to guard its territory. Its long toes spread its weight across soft mud, allowing it to move with ease along wet edges. Always watchful, always ready to react, and nearby where water deepens and movement slows, a more elegant presence begins to rise. Out on the open grasslands, elegance takes form, a pair of grey-crowned cranes. Across Amboseli National Park, they move with measured steps, tall, composed, and always aware of their surroundings. Often seen in pairs, their bond is long-lasting. Partners remain together across seasons, reinforcing their connection through display. Bows, leaps, and soft calls, a language of movement. Their golden crowns catch the light, rising above the grass as they forage for seeds, insects, and small prey. Unlike many cranes, they can perch, gripping branches with elongated toes. Adapted not just for the ground, but for elevation when needed. Here, presence is calm, but never careless. And across these same plains where calm can shift in an instant, a sharper voice begins to cut through the silence. Calm doesn't last long. The Blacksmith Lapwing. In Amboseli National Park, its loud, metallic calls cut through the plains, a constant warning to anything that comes too close. Restless, alert. And above this noise, high on the trees, another life stands watch. High above the plains, stillness takes a different form. The saddle-billed stork. Perched on its nest, it surveys the landscape of Amboseli National Park from above. Large, solitary, and precise. Nesting high keeps it beyond most threats, offering both safety and a clear view of the world below. Here, patience replaces movement. And across those same plains, where calm can break without warning, a different kind of tension begins to build. Across the open plains of Amboseli National Park, strength gathers in numbers. A lion pride, coordinated, patient, watching. Their focus is fixed on a single target. A lone Cape buffalo, separated from the herd but not defenseless. At first glance it appears vulnerable, resting, grazing, unaware, but appearances here can be misleading. Cape buffalo are among the most dangerous animals on the African plains. Powerfully built with thick muscle and heavy bone, an adult can weigh over 700 kilograms. Its horns form a solid shield across the forehead, designed not just for defense, but for combat. And when threatened, it does not always flee. It stands, and sometimes it charges. The lions know this. They spread out, forming a loose circle. Each movement calculated, testing distance, probing for weakness. Too close, and the buffalo will react. Too far, and the opportunity is lost. For the buffalo, awareness is everything. Ears flick, head lifts, muscles tense beneath thick hide. It senses the pressure. A single mistake could trigger the attack. But for the lions, this is a dangerous gamble. Unlike many prey species, a buffalo can fight back, with force enough to injure or even kill. Broken bones, gored bodies. A failed hunt can carry lasting consequences. So they wait, circling, watching, weighing the risk. Because here survival is not just about taking down prey. It is about choosing the right moment, or choosing not to act at all. And sometimes the cost is too high. The circle loosens, the tension fades, and the plains return to silence, with both sides still alive. As the light fades over Amboseli National Park, the plains begin to fall silent. Shapes turn to silhouettes, movement slows, and among them, a familiar presence remains. Craig, one of the great Tuskers of this land, a life measured not in years alone, but in memory, through drought and abundance, through changing seasons and shifting paths. He has walked these plains for decades, carrying with him the story of Amboseli itself. In a landscape defined by extremes, endurance becomes legacy. And as darkness settles, the land returns to stillness once more. But the story does not end, because with every step taken across this dust, it continues.